Episode 1: The Heirs of the Dragon. At the beginning of the series, King Viserys feels content with himself. He has a lovely relationship with his wife, Queen Aemma, and their beloved daughter, Princess Rhaenyra. The air is thick with anticipation as Aemma carries their next child, and Viserys excitedly awaits the arrival of a boy. Meanwhile, Rhaenyra and her best friend, Alicent Hightower, spend time with Aemma and participate in a tournament to celebrate the upcoming birth. During this time, they meet Sir Criston Cole and Prince Daemon. Tragically, Aemma's birth complications get worse. The Master provides Viserys with a difficult choice: prioritize Aemma's life or that of the unborn child. Viserys, driven by his desire for a baby, decides to keep the baby alive. Aemma passes away, and the baby dies soon after. Sir Otto Hightower asks his daughter Alicent to console the grieving king in the aftermath of this devastating loss. Daemon, who was expected to be Viserys' heir, faced the chance of losing his place in the line of succession to a newborn son. However, once Daemon is overheard mocking the deceased child in a King's Landing tavern, Viserys takes extreme action, ousting Daemon as his heir. Instead, he names Rhaenyra his successor, admitting regret for his insistence on having a male heir. He also confides in her the prophecy of the Song of Ice and Fire. Episode 2: The Rogue Prince. 6 months later, Rhaenyra and Viserys are still mourning the loss of Aemma. Daemon has a legally occupied Dragonstone with his city watch, but gets no opposition. Meanwhile, Rhaenyra finds it difficult to adjust to her new status as heir, and her father provides no help. Rhaenyra chooses Sir Criston to join the King's Guard, despite his lacking of noble lineage. In a later development, Daemon steals a dragon egg, intending it as a gift for his unborn child with Mysaria. Sir Otto goes on a mission to reclaim it, while Rhaenyra secretly follows him on Syrax. Eventually, she persuades her uncle to give up the egg. The king wishes to remarry to try for more children, but assures Rhaenyra that she will remain his heir, initially considering 12-year-old Laena Velaryon for marriage. He surprises everyone by choosing Alicent instead. Rhaenyra and Lord Corlys Velaryon are shocked by this choice. In retaliation, Lord Corlys allies with Daemon to fight the crab feeder in the Stepstones. Episode 3: Second of his name. 3 years later, Prince Aegon, Viserys, and Alicent's first son, celebrates his second birthday with a grand party that includes a royal hunt. Various lords presume this suggests Aegon will be named heir, but Viserys seems unconcerned about how his actions are seen. Instead, he berates Rhaenyra in front of the entire court for her refusal to find a husband. She escapes into the forest, and Sir Criston follows her. They have a deep conversation in the woods and fight a wild boar together. Rhaenyra spots a white hart, an omen of who should rule, and lets it live. Back at camp, most people feel uneasy to see her return covered in the boar's blood, but not Sir Harwin, who looks thrilled. Meanwhile, Daemon and Corlys find themselves struggling in their battle in the Stepstones. After learning that the king has finally agreed to offer help, Daemon decides to finish the battle on his own. He orchestrates a ruse, feigning surrender to lure out the crab feeder. Daemon takes the opportunity and personally executes the enemy, resulting in his faction's victory. Episode 4: King of the Narrow Sea. Months later, Daemon returns to King's Landing. He informs his brother that he is now King of the Stepstones, but he hands over the crown to Viserys. Rhaenyra, meantime, has returned after an unsuccessful tour to find a husband. Daemon convinces Rhaenyra to join him at King's Landing in secret. Their night of wild activities takes them to a brothel where they kiss, but Daemon abandons his niece there. She sneaks back into the Red Keep and seduces Sir Criston to sleep with her instead. Sir Otto learns via a spy that Rhaenyra and Daemon were seen getting intimate in a brothel, which he reports to Viserys. Alicent confronts Rhaenyra about it, and she denies the news. Viserys accuses Daemon, who responds that it is true and that he should let him marry Rhaenyra. Viserys sends him to the Vale to his wife. Viserys dismisses Otto as King's Hand and orders Rhaenyra to marry Sir Leonor Valerian. Viserys instructs the Great Master to get Rhaenyra Moon Tea, a contraceptive, showing that he does not fully believe her. Episode 5, We Light the Way. Daemon murders his wife, Lady Rhea Royce, and plans to return to King's Landing. Meanwhile, Rhaenyra and Lenore reach an agreement on their engagement. Rhaenyra tells Leonor that she is aware of and supports him being gay, and suggests that they each have their own affairs. Leonor informs his partner, Sir Joffrey, about the arrangement. As the wedding preparations progress, Laurie Strong informs Alicent that someone gave Rhaenyra Moon Tea, causing Alicent to feel Rhaenyra had tricked her. Alicent questions Sir Criston about whether he saw Rhaenyra with Daemon, but he assumes she is aware of his night with Rhaenyra and confesses to it. Tensions rise during the wedding's opening feast, as Alicent's choice of a green outfit represents her solitary alliance with herself. During their dance, Rhaenyra and Daemon exchange heated words, which end up with Sir Criston fatally striking Sir Joffrey, but his motivations are unknown. Ser Harwin steps in and pulls Rhaenyra from the chaos. In the aftermath, she and Lenore get married in a simple ceremony. Episode 6, The Princess and the Queen. 10 years later, Rhaenyra is in labor with her third child. None of their kids resemble Leonor, leading to everyone but the king to believe that Ser Harwin is their real father, which he is. Alicent is furious by Rhaenyra's display of her children around the Red Keep, and both she and her closest confidant, Sir Criston, are filled with anger. Lord Lionel Strong, Harwin's father, considers stepping down as Hand because of his son's disgrace. But Viserys refuses to accept his resignation. Lionel resolves to return Harwin to Harrenhal. Rhaenyra tries to arrange a marriage between Jace and her daughter Helena, but Alicent opposes the idea. Consequently, Rhaenyra and Lenore decide to depart from King's Landing for Dragonstone. When Harwin and Lionel return to Harrenhal, their rooms catch fire, killing them. Loras admits to Alicent that he planned the fire, claiming that his actions were driven by his loyalty to her. Shortly after Rhaenyra's wedding, Laena marries Daemon, and together with their twin daughters, they live in the Free Cities. Laena experiences complications during labor with her third child, who is in a breech position. Desiring a death fitting of a dragon rider, she commands her dragon, Vhagar, to end her life. Episode 7, Driftmark. The entire court attends Laena's funeral on Driftmark to offer their respects. That night, Aemon decides to claim Laena's dragon, Vhagar. However, he is intercepted by Jace, Luke, Baela, and Rhaena. The daughters are enraged by Aemon's theft of their mother's dragon, causing a fight. During the fight, Lucerys cuts Aemon's eye with a knife. As tensions rise, the adults step in, with Alicent demanding Luke's eye as retribution for Aemon's loss. Luke and Jace explain that Aemon insulted them by calling them bastards. Alicent, enraged, slashes Rhaenyra's arm. Otto takes joy in his daughter's actions. Meanwhile, Princess Rhaenys encourages her husband Corlys to give Driftmark to Baela, saying that it should only belong to a real Valerian. However, Corlys wants Driftmark to be inherited by someone with the Valerian surname, since that is what history will remember. And that person is Luke. Daemon convinces Rhaenyra of the importance of having him as an ally in the approaching battle. She agrees, but is torn between her love for her husband, despite his inability to father children. To fix this, Daemon works with Sir Corl Corey to execute a plan in which Lenore looks to have been killed. However, in truth, Corl helps Lair escape across the narrow sea. Rhaenyra and Daemon marry in a Valyrian wedding ceremony. In Valyrian custom, marriage allows for numerous partners, validating Rhaenyra and Daemon's union, and ensuring the validity of any children they may have. Episode 8, The Lord of the Tides. 6 years later, Corlys is injured in another clash in the Stepstones. While Luke is set to inherit from him, his brother Sir Vaemond feels Driftmark should go to him. He sees a chance to take it, especially given the king's failing health and the power Alicent and Otto possess over the crown. Vaemond, Rhaenys, Rhaenyra, Daemon, and their respective children travel to King's Landing. Rhaenyra and Daemon bring their 2 children, Aegon and Viserys, to see their grandfather. She asks her father to help her re-establish her family's standing. Rhaenyra becomes enraged once more during the discussions when her boys are accused of illegitimate birth. Before Otto or Alicent can swing the outcome in Vaemond's favor, the king appears. Despite his failing health, he ascends to the throne for one last time with the help of his brother. Declaring Rhaenyra's children's parentage resolved, he asks Rhaenys' opinion on Corlys' aspirations. Rhaenys reveals that Corlys had always meant Luke to be his heir, and Luke and Jace had been promised to marry Rhaena and Baela, respectively. Viserys declares the matter settled and orders Vaemond's tongue to be removed. However, Daemon takes matters into his own hands and beheads Vaemond. Viserys gathers his family for dinner to establish unity. However, Aemond continues to belittle his nephews. Despite this, Rhaenyra and Alicent appear to be mending their relationship, with Rhaenyra expressing her desire to return to King's Landing after accompanying her children back to Dragonstone. After Rhaenyra leaves, Alicent visits her husband in his chamber. Confused by the effects of the poppy milk, he mistakes Alicent as Rhaenyra and talks to her about Aegon's dream, the Song of Ice and Fire. Alicent misinterprets his remarks and assumes he wants their son, Aegon, to take the throne. She leaves his side and he dies shortly after, calling out for his first wife, Aemma. Episode 9, The Green Council. Alicent's maid wakes her up to give the news of Viserys' death. Alicent soon notifies her father, sharing details about Viserys' deathbed words and intentions. The small council meets to discuss before Rhaenyra becomes aware of the issue. Otto and Lord Tywin Lannister reveal that they have been secretly working to help Aegon ascend to the throne following Viserys' death. Alicent is shocked by the discovery, yet she does not intervene. Lord Lyman Beesbury strongly opposes the proposal, forcing Sir Criston to quickly dispatch him. They begin their efforts to secure Aegon's ascension to the throne, but Aegon's whereabouts remain unknown. Alicent sends Sir Criston and Aemon to find him, while Otto appoints 2 King's Guards of his own, Sir Auric and Sir Eric, to the assignment. While Criston and Aemon explore brothels, Auric and Eric come upon the battle pits, where children are forced to engage in combat. Some of Aegon's illegitimate kids are among the participants. A woman brings them to Mysaria, who offers to reveal Aegon's location only if Otto promises to stop fighting pits. Both teams track down Aegon, but Aemond and Criston apprehend him and carry him back to the Red Keep. Alicent takes advantage of Aegon's captivity to get her father to promise Rhaenyra good conditions in exchange for her family's safety. She convinces Aegon that his claim to the throne is valid, despite his awareness that his father had never intended him to be his heir. Aegon is eventually crowned at the Dragon Pit. Princess Rhaenys, whom Alicent had held hostage in an attempt to sway her loyalty, escapes with the help of Sir Eric. She disrupts the coronation by showing up on her dragon, Meleys, and gives them a warning. Episode 10, The Black Queen. Princess Rhaenys arrives at Dragonstone to deliver the news of King Viserys' passing and Aegon's coronation, which was witnessed by the people of King's Landing. Rhaenyra is overwhelmed by grief and prematurely enters labor, resulting in her daughter's stillbirth. Sir Eric returns from King's Landing with Viserys' crown, and after her daughter's burial, Rhaenyra is declared queen. As Rhaenyra evaluates her alliances, Rhaenys refuses to commit House Valyrian's support to Rhaenyra until Lord Corlys arrives. Otto offers Rhaenyra terms of surrender, including honorable duties for her 5 boys. Although Daemon urges Otto's demise, Rhaenyra considers the idea of avoiding war. She mentions the Song of Ice and Fire to Daemon, who, being unfamiliar with the notion, rejects it and calls his brother an idiot. Rhaenys persuades her husband to stand with the Blacks, while Rhaenyra seeks prospective allies. She sends Jacaerys to the Vale and Winterfell to get their support, and Lucerys to Storm's End to talk with Lord Boros Baratheon. However, at Storm's End, Lucerys encounters Aemond, who was sent there by the crown. Aemond is still pursuing vengeance on Lucerys for cutting his eye out. Following Lord Boros' dismissal of Luke, Aemond chases him and his dragon Arax to Vhagar, which dwarves Arax in size. Both boys lose control of their dragons, and Vhagar eats Luke and Arax. Back at Storm's End, Daemon tells Rhaenyra about Luke's death, and it seems she's ready to go to war. Thanks for watching. To catch all the latest from us, subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified as soon as a new video drops. We'll see you in the next one.